positive first step for Deontay playing a position he hasn't played a lot. So he's going to keep getting those reps and keep competing. And as I said before, I think this, the interior competition is going to go well to the beginning of the season, I think, as we get started. So there's going to be a lot of rotating and shuffling, I think, as we move through these next 2 games, the next few weeks.
How tough do you think the transition between left and right would be for him? I mean, is that a simple thing or a hard thing since he spent so much time on the left side already?
Ideally, Paul, I think you'd like to have him play one spot. But the reality is, even if he is your interior swing off the bench, he's got to be able to play both sides. So all those interior guys are always going to flip-flop sides to be able to get a chance to rep both sides. So, yeah, ideally leave him at one spot, but the reality is that he's going to have to be able to play both to have value for our offensive line as a starter or a backup.
Brian, Jackson Carman got up to a slow start with that holding penalty, but how did he play after that, in your opinion?
I thought he played okay. There was some ups and downs, getting his feet underneath him a little bit in the run game. And I thought he had some good things in protection. He is physical and he's strong. It's just a matter of reining that in, getting the technique down. And it's kind of all young players go through it where, you go to the first game and it kind of goes all over the place. And then you settle down a little bit as you get used to playing at the pro level and pro speed. So I thought there was some good, some bad. Obviously plenty to improve on for him.
How would you describe his progression so far from the end of OTAs to right now?
About, what most young players go through. I'd like to see more positive steps from him than he's shown so far. There's been enough things where that he's got to get better at and get better at quickly. That's just the reality. But, he's doing things that you expect rookies to do, and then he flashes his potential. And the name of the game at this level for any young player is be consistent. And the most consistent guys are the guys that are easiest to trust and to play. So the inconsistency, I think, is what hurts him the most so far. But, a lot of good things that have come forward and time to go still. But, I think that's the name of the game here for all these young players, is find a way to be consistent and be dependable all the time.
Brian, how much do you talk with Frank about an offensive lineman in particular, a young offensive lineman especially, to see whether or not he can handle a certain situation in preseason?
Yeah, Frank and I had conversations about all our guys pretty much daily, and Zach is included in those conversations as well, obviously. So we try to put guys in positions in practice and in these preseason games sometimes to see what they can do and what makes them uncomfortable, put them in situations that they're not totally comfortable for, to see how they respond. That's kind of part of the evaluation because that's the reality of playing up front. But Frank's got such a great feel for what he expects from those young players and how he wants to develop them. He's got a plan for all of them. And I think that everything's kind of lined up with the plan so far and how those guys have been used. So I think Frank's a good guy to trust when it comes to developing young linemen. He knows how to do it.
During the course of the game, did you have enough situational things, red zone, third down, goal line situations to evaluate, the battles raging at running back, at tight end, at wide receiver? Did you get enough things on tape that you got a pretty good handle on evaluating some of these battles at roster spots?
Yeah, I think so. It's a good start. Thankfully we get to go out 2 more times and let those guys go compete again. Plus, we got 9 practices in between now and the last in Miami. So there's plenty of opportunities to keep evaluating. We got a lot of good work in that game. I thought one of the things that was really good offensively is that, we kind of talk about taking the last shot of the half, and we managed to clock well down there and punch the ball in with a chance to get the ball back at the half and double them up with possessions. And we didn't do a very good job coming out from the half. That's something that we have got to get better at, is coming out quicker and scoring faster, particularly when you have a chance to win those middle minutes between the end of the second and the start of the third. We didn't get a chance to capitalize there. And I thought we did a really nice job in our 4-minute. It was a 2-point game and we had some time to burn, and, we took the clock down. We should have been able to take a knee after Jock's 3rd and 2 conversion run. We got called for a hold and didn't get to finish it out with the ball in our hands. But ultimately that was a good way to finish the game. So situationally, got to see our guys compete there at the 4th quarter to kind of to grind the game out and finish with the ball in our hands. And we almost did that. So that work was good. And as far as some third downs, I thought we did a really nice job on our third downs, particularly early in the game. And then we had a couple later that were manageable. We had a few get away from us getting some long yardage with some penalties and some negative plays that pushed us back. But ultimately, I thought we had a lot of good things on tape that we could improve on.
Coach, just getting back to just two questions on the O-line. Sorry about that, but do you count Dante as a guard? You know, do you count him as a guard? And is there any one or two specific things you're looking for Carman to improve on?
Yeah, Deontay is a guard. He definitely has shown his ability to make that transition. He does have the ability to play tackle, so the versatility is a good thing. And he's going to focus on guard here moving forward. But he took some snaps at tackle last night or whatever. I can't remember. I don't know, 4 o'clock, whatever day it was. But you know, he played both positions in that game, and so the versatility is always key, especially if you're not starting, to be able to go in and help out at any position. But he is a guard, and he's going to continue to rep as one with some mix of tackle here and there. Your second question, what does Jackson have to do to improve? You know, I think it's the playing within the technique and under control. He's on the ground a few times last night when we'd like him not to be, and just being able to kind of slow his play down and trust his technique and do the things that Frank's asking him to do. And he flashes those things. And then he had a couple of plays last night that, you know, that would like to be better from him. So, but technique and being able to play within himself are two of the things that we'd be looking for.
Thanks, Kelly.
Yep.
Brian, how would you assess that it's go ahead, Marissa.
No, just when it comes to, you know, the competition at running back, you know, we got to see a lot of Chris and Jaquez. Just kind of what more do you want to see out of those guys on Friday?
You know, I think the biggest thing for Chris Evans is he has to realize that the runs that he could potentially make in college, you don't get to make at this level very often. And what I mean by that is, you know, he bounced a couple balls to the perimeter when we'd like him to make a cut and get vertical and save us. You know, sometimes it's not a pretty run. And the job of the running back is to get us back to zero and not lose two. And I think four of the negative runs, we had 5 negative plays, I think, involving the backs, and he was on 4 of them. So those are the things that he's got to get better at as far as the detail of what we want those guys to do in the run game and put the ball in places that sometimes isn't real pretty and it's not going to look real great on your stat line, but it's the right thing to do for the play. So it's just learning how to play the NFL level for Chris. And, you know, Jaquez has done everything that I think we've seen here for a year. You guys get to see him last year in the preseason, but he's a big, powerful downhill runner. And it was a perfect situation for him at the end of the game to showcase those skills when all we're trying to do is run that clock down and pound the ball. And he can do that pretty dang good. So I thought he had a nice showing and continue to show some ability to catch the ball out of the backfield and maybe get him some protection reps here over the course of the next 2 games. Let him showcase those skills. But those 2 running backs, I thought did a nice job.
How would you say the whole interior offensive line as a unit, that position, the guards and the center, how have they looked that first and second string throughout camp so far?
They've done a nice job. You know, the competition, I think, is bringing the best of those guys inside between Mike Jordan and Xavier and Quentin. You know, the 2 veteran guys, the competition makes them go a little bit more than sometimes veterans do. So it's pushing them to get better. And Mike Jordan, I think, has done a nice job really trying to improve his game. And then, you know, it makes it hard on the young guys coming in with Deontay and Jackson trying to earn a spot. There's a lot of competition in the interior of our line. You know, Billy's done a nice job stepping in at center. Trey's gotten back. He's looked good in his program to introduce him back into football. And I think we're going to come out of there with an interior that we feel good about. And those guys are competing and making each other better. I'm happy with the progress we've made. I think we're better now than we were this time a year ago. And got to continue to get better because it's not nearly where we need to be, but we got time to get there.
What'd you think about the quarterback?
Go ahead, guys.
What'd you think about the quarterback play in the first game?
I thought Brandon did a nice job doing what you expect the quarterback to do. He moved us into scoring position on 3 straight drives. We punched one in. Obviously, the turnovers are really, really negative. Those are the ones that wear on me the most. You know, I think we ended up with like 7 balls that changed possession at one point or another. One of them got negated by a penalty and those sorts of things. But, you know, too many balls that got turned over, really you're going to lose a lot of games doing that. So heavy point of emphasis there. But Brandon moved us into scoring position. You know, on those 3 drives, I thought we had a chance to put 21 points on the board in 3 possessions. And we didn't do that with the turnovers, didn't give us the opportunity to finish those drives out. But I really liked what Brandon did. His interception was aggressive versus a hard sideline swooping zone defender that he tried to throw it over. And the kid made a nice play, but a little aggressive throw by Brandon, which is okay in a preseason game. We don't mind that. aggression is sometimes a good thing. So happy with Brandon. I thought Shermer came in and did a nice job. He found completions, moved the offense. The interception obviously is one he would definitely like to have back. You know, we threw a stick route to the tight end and the linebacker jumped it. He was late with his eyes and kind of let it go before he really saw what was happening. And that's one we'd like to have back. Can't give up turnovers for touchdowns. But I thought for those guys competing, they did a nice job.
Coach, you have 3 preseason games versus 4. Will there be a drastic approach in how you use these 3 games versus how you would use 4 games?
I don't think so. I think we're going to end up trying to get the most out of these games, just like we would if we had 4. We're trying to get as many of our position battles and younger players chances to compete, chances to make our roster and show what they're capable of. We got a pretty good feel for most of the spots that we have a good feel for, I should say, is a good thing to have. And then we get a chance to really let these younger guys play and compete. And we'll use the preseason games in pretty much the same manner that we have before. We just get one less. So how the reps shake out with the ones and how long they play, it will remain to be seen here for the next 2 weeks. But, you know, those young guys are still going to get plenty of opportunities to make our roster and compete.
Which
Brian,
this thing comes down. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, James.
It's all right. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Brian, how is Michael Jordan, how is he different this year versus last year? And how is he transitioning to right guard?
I think he's learning how he's a pro now, and he understood what he needed to get done in the offseason to improve his game. He sought out the resources to do so. I know he's worked with some people outside of our building, and then came in really ready to compete and to put it behind him. And we tell our unit all the time and our team in general that every year is a new year in the NFL. You don't get to, whether you were bad or good, it doesn't matter. There's a new year ahead of you, and a lot of things can happen that you're not expecting. And he prepared himself to be in position to compete. I'm proud of the way he came in, and certainly hasn't gotten to the point where we're going to cement him as a starter or anything like that. But his approach has been great, and he's done a lot of good things. His game has definitely improved, and he's played much better. He played good yesterday. So I'm excited about that, and I'm excited that competition can breed for our interior of our line.
And you were around Matt Prater in a couple of your previous starts, the record holder for longest field goal. When you watch McPherson, do you see any similarities?
I see the leg strength. I'm certainly not the foremost expert on kicking mechanics and on kickers, but I do see the leg strength. That's one thing that Prater did for us in Denver and Detroit is, you know, he was a weapon once you cross into the long field goal range and he could hit from 50 plus. Offensively, that makes you feel pretty good. You kind of know you cross the 50, you got a shot to put points on the board just about every time if you got a guy that can boot it. So from what I've seen, he certainly looks like he looks the part. And it's a fun competition to watch. I thought Austin Cyber's done a good job too. So for those that like kicking battles, I think we got a fun one.
2 more minutes.
Very limited from Jamar, obviously, to start off. But what did you think about his few snaps and the way he handled that kind of wide open screen for him?
It was good. It was good. He was laid off the ball in the first snap of the game, so that wasn't what we're looking for. But it was good. He got his feet wet a little bit, got a chance to get a taste of the action. You know, again, he hasn't played in a while, so it was good for him to get out and play a little bit. You know, we tried to find him a touch and get him some space, and it worked out well. And he ended up with 16 yards. Certainly, probably could have been more. You know, I think if we block that a little bit differently with the guys out in space and give Jamar a two-way go on that safety, he might make a miss and get more. I think he felt like he left some yards out there too. But hopefully now he understands what it's like. And the next time he gets a chance in the open field to go 50 or 60 as opposed to 16, I think we'll get it.
Trenton Irwin,
Felt like you've seen him progress. You felt like you've seen him take step in practices that you're seeing a very noticeable difference from even one practice to the next at this point. Yeah, absolutely. He's done a really nice job improving. And the great thing about Jamar is he's super, super coachable. He listens to everything that Troy tries to get him to do offensively where he fits. You know, the biggest thing in the jump that you make is the technique has to be on point. You don't get to beat people just because you're better than they are in the NFL. The technique has to be good. And he's learned how to use his hands and learns how to release first press. The great thing about our defense is they're really aggressive at the line of scrimmage. And so he's had to expand his toolbox. And I think every day he's gotten out there, he's gotten better and better, learning how to use his speed, how to use his technique and the leverage and all those things
has been fun to watch. So I'm excited about the improvements still to come.
When it comes to Trenton Irwin, has it been kind of encouraging to see what he's been doing this camp?
I've loved watching Trenton Irwin play really over the last, year and a half. We would do those one-on-ones in practice throughout the course of the season, and he would always win. And I think that trend has continued. He just found a way to win. And when his numbers been called, he's made plays. And at some point, you can't ignore that production. And he's done a really good job of making sure everybody notices him. And every time his number's been called to do something, he's done it and produced, and it's been a positive result. Certainly, again, not anywhere perfect to where we want him on some of the other details that don't show up on the TV. But I just think when his number's been called, he's answered the bell, and I think that goes a long way for guys competing for spots. That's a huge deal.
One last question from Lap here. Coach, were you happy?
You went on mute there on me.
Sorry. Sometimes, were you happy with the way, particularly the young guys, sometimes, you're drilling technique, you're drilling details of assignments and all that sort of thing, and they get into the game and they revert back to what they did in college, maybe even high school in the heat of battle. They just, everything blanks out and they just go back to things that they did before. Were you pretty happy with them staying with their technique during the course of the game?
Yeah, it had its ups and downs. It was about what was expected, nothing out of the ordinary there. But yeah, guys settled down. As the guys that played a lot settled down. Isaiah Prince would be one of them. He really, I thought, did a nice job. He got a ton of reps in that game just because of, we only had a couple of tackles playing. So I thought he did a really nice job. And you could see him settle into the game as he went on. And that's what you hope for as you accumulate, these guys accumulate 40, 50, 60 reps over the next 2 weeks. You see him settle in to what you want him to do, how you ask him to do it. And I think guys it was a good start, and it's a good teaching tape for us to go through all these things and remind guys of the things that they're getting taught and what we want them to do and get a chance to go execute it again. So it was a good start. But yeah, all those things you talked about, they showed up.